Hey everyone, welcome to MagicLab. This is our second live stream magic lesson, and thank you for joining us. So if you were with us last night for the live stream show, episode 6, Separation Anxiety, you saw me do a few tricks, and I did a trick with a rope, which is a pretty fun trick, and I wanted to actually show you a similar one. So, I should also say, the way that this magic class works is I'm going to go ahead and show you all the tricks first, and then I'll kind of like walk back through the way that they work so you can go ahead and learn them at home. But I was mentioning this little rope thing that I did last time. So I wanted to start with a slightly smaller version of that in the sense that this is a trick with a few pieces of string. So we've got these just two little pieces of string. These are actually, I love cooking. This is butcher twine. We can talk about trussing a chicken later, but this is what I use for that. And the idea here is even though we've created two separate pieces, you can create a really compelling illusion that they actually are just one piece. I'll show you what that looks like. If I take the ropes, or in this case the string, and hold them in my hand, just like this, if I bring one of them up here and hold it like this, it starts to look like that's actually just one piece of rope that I'm holding in my hand. Now, you all know better, but that's a pretty convincing illusion. But actually, the illusion gets even better if you just pull the ends a little bit. And you can almost see how it looks like they're really connected. And then just like that, we do end up with a single piece of string. It's a pretty good illusion. But I'll tell you what, if you want to see that a slightly different way, almost like the classic sawing someone in half trick, I'll show you what we can do with that. If we take this string and actually just a little straw right here, we don't want it to be too gory. You got to hide it a little. But if I put that string right into the straw, just like this, you can see it coming out the end. Again, just one piece of string right there. But here, I'm going to bend that in half. And we'll go ahead and try this. The classic sawing someone in half. Well, in this case, cutting a piece of string in half. Right through the center. Oops. Just like that. And I'm telling you, it's a pretty good illusion. You have to pinch them so they don't fall through. But again, the illusion is pretty good that those are actually now two separate pieces. You can kind of see there. But of course, I've already told you it's just an illusion. So the second we put those back together, it starts to look like one. And of course, it actually is just one solid piece of rope or string, even though we have two separate pieces of straw. So there we go. There's a little bit of magic with some string, and I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to do that in just a second. But before I do that, last week when I was teaching tricks, the card tricks were pretty popular. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple card tricks here today as well. And let's start right down here on the table with one of those now. So this is a great little card trick. This is a fun card trick. Not a lot of people know this, but last week I did a trick with 4 aces. And cards kind of think it's Halloween a lot of the time. Oh, I know you can't see me, but hopefully you can hear me. So anyways, you're going to want to see the cards, so that's why I'm out of your shot for just a second, but I'll be back, I promise. All right, so Halloween I think I was talking about, and cards really love kind of putting on costumes. And we're going to take a deck of cards here. I'll give them a little bit of a shuffle, but we're going to see if we can find 4 very specific cards. And I think they are in costume right now, actually. I don't know if they've quite stopped that, but let's see. Let's see. We'll do some random ones. How about this one, and this one, and this one, and from the bottom of the deck, this one. And I think we'll see if we got them. These 4 cards should be, 1, 2, 3, and 4 aces. 4 aces. Well, I mean, again, they are in disguise. It's sort of, they think it's Halloween all year round, which is a little nuts. But I think these disguises are not that great. They all look a little similar. The 10 of spades maybe didn't quite disguise itself enough. That's pretty close to the ace of spades. But here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And I'll show you them again here. Watch. That's the 5, the 4, the other 5, and the 10. but that's 1, 5, 4, I think the other 5. This could have had a better disguise, but watch. If we take all of them, they come out of disguise real fast. 1, 2, 3, just like that. And we actually do end up with all 4 aces, just like that. And I'll tell you what, let's do one last one while we're down here at the table. And this is going to be a little bit of a much simpler card trick for anyone who's just learning card tricks for the first time. But we'll take this deck, and I would typically have someone choose a card. Obviously, that's not a thing we can do here right now, but let's just say randomly that this will be the card that was selected, just that one right there. Again, I wouldn't usually look at it, but I can see on my monitor, actually. So actually here, let's do it this way. I'm going to put my head on the table so I really can't see, and then the audience can see that card. Does that work? You guys got it? Okay. All right, that's strangely the most fair way that I could do this, so I can't see that card. Then we're going to go ahead and put the card right back in the center of the deck, right about there is pretty good. Okay, you can have the person cut the cards a bunch, however they want. Just like that. All right, and now I'm going to try to find it. But what I'm going to try to do is find it based on reactions in the chat. Now, actually, I can't quite see the chat right now. Let's see if I can see them down there. And even if the chat's silent, I'm still able to kind of sense the reactions, which is pretty good. All right, here we go. Let's see. No reactions yet, nothing. Oh, we got the aces. Those were on the top. That's right. Interesting. Interesting. Strong reaction to the ace. You know what? Here we go. I bet the next card I turn over is going to be your card. That's what I would typically say to someone. And typically they take that bet. And then once they do take that bet, which is a poor choice because that's not something you want to do with a magician, I said the next card I turn over is going to be your card, and I would go ahead and take this as the next card that I would turn over. And I think, hopefully, we had the 9 of diamonds was the card that was picked. So those are our tricks that we're going to learn here today in MagicLab. And so I'm going to go ahead and teach them to you now. Let's see. I'm not able to quite see the color. Oh, it's a sound. Sounds like a freight train. OK. Here. Oh, there we go. I can see them now. That's awesome, Neil. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and teach everyone how to do those. Now, the tricks themselves are, well, one of them, that ace trick, is pretty complicated. The other ones are pretty straightforward. They take a little bit of preparation ahead of time, which, again, is kind of the point of this whole MagicLab. Magic is really fun to build, and you have to make something ahead of time. So let's go ahead and start with the tricks with the string. And by the way, I can see kind of comments now, which is great. So if you have any questions as we're doing this, go ahead and just type them in the chat. And I can't see all of them. They kind of scroll, but I'll get to see a few of them come up on screen, so feel free to ask questions if you've got them. All right, we'll put the cards away. We'll come back to those. But to start, let's look at that trick with string. So this is a really interesting thing. You need a very specific string to do this, and I have found that butcher's twine is the best. But really what you're looking for is a string that is made up of lots of little individual braided strands, which maybe you can kind of see right there if I hold it kind of against my black shirt. You can see how they all split up like that. And that's critical for this trick. So I have found that butcher's twine is the best thing to use. This is a slightly thicker butcher's twine, which just is more visible and also makes everything kind of look a little bit better at the end. So here's how this works. It takes advantage of a great principle, which is that if you untwist this butcher's twine, oh, by the way, sorry, this is butcher's twine right here. So it kind of comes on one of these spools like this. That's what you're after. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a piece of this string. I use about 2 feet, something like that, and maybe a little less. That's probably more like 18 inches. Find the center of that. So I just fold the string in half, just like that, and you find the center. All right, and then you're actually going to pluck apart this string and split up the threads a little bit. Now this one is actually made up of 6 spun kind of braided pieces of string, so I split it up so it's 3 and 3, and I'll see if I can get a good close-up so you can see what that looks like. So as I split it up, you can kind of see there how I'm splitting up that thread. And then you just keep pulling it apart about that much. Hopefully everyone can see that. There you go. And then I just release these sides, like this. Again, this is just one piece of string, but if you take those two pieces and now twist them, it naturally just kind of braids up on itself, and you get a pretty convincing illusion that those are two pieces of string now. And I'll come up here and show you close to the camera so you can really see what's going on. But again, this is the situation we've made, right? I'll show it against black. That's a little easier to see. So that's just one piece of this thread that you've pulled apart, kind of spun back together. Now you end up with a really convincing illusion when you pinch and hide that center spot. You get this great illusion that it's two pieces of string. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So now, this should be pretty obvious, but all you're doing is making sure that you're hiding that center section that you've split up there. So you can kind of pass it back and forth, just like this, and the whole point there is showing that it's two pieces, even though it's actually already just one. Now, I'm here by myself, so I had to do this. Well, I've got some other people helping out, but I don't have an audience member to help with. What you can actually do, though, if you do have someone you're performing this for, is then take those two ends and put it in their hand and tell them to close their fist, which is a nice little touch, because then this makes it seem like the magic is happening in their hand. But from this point, all you've got to do is pull on the string. And again, I'll come back up here so you can see. These are those two little pieces that we've got there. I'll go down there on the black shirt. And as you pull on the string, it all just comes back together in the center and makes that one piece whole again, right? So it's a very, very simple trick, and it's all in the presentation about how you convince people that these are two pieces of string at the beginning, and then making that fun magic moment at the end, and it makes it seem like they've come back together. So my presentation there, again, I pulled them apart, I spin them back together, it looks like you've got these two pieces, and what I said was, you know, you can create a very convincing illusion by putting these in your hand, that it looks just like one piece of string. And I say, you guys know it's obviously two, but the illusion is pretty good. It looks like one. And in fact, the illusion starts to get better if you pull. And just like that, the illusion is complete, and it actually is one whole piece of string. So that's how that trick works. Super simple, but really quite effective, especially if you do it in someone else's hand, which is what I recommend you do. And they're dumbfounded. They think that they had two pieces of string in their hand, and then they became one piece. So that's a great one. Any questions on that? No, I don't see. I just see a lot of, whoa, cool, wow, which is great. That's exactly what we're going for. That's pretty much what all magicians are going for, in fact, so I'll take that as a win. Let's talk about that second trick. So the kind of follow-up to this that I like to use is then cutting it in half and bringing it back together again. What you're going to need for this is a straw. I've got these plastic straws here. We were just chatting about the fact that in San Francisco, plastic straws have apparently been banned, so it may be hard to find these now. But if you're able to come across these or order them online, this is just a plastic straw. You're going to want the straw to not be clear. That is rather important. And in fact, I wish I had a clear straw so I could show you how to do this. That would make it even easier to see. But here we go. So here's what you're going to do. A little bit of prep work ahead of time. You need a pair of scissors. This is a very small pair of scissors, which I found has worked best for this. But if you have bigger scissors, that's going to be fine. And you can probably make this all right. Again, sharp objects, so do be careful. Warning. What you're going to do is before the trick starts, you find roughly the center of the straw right here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you're going to make a very small little incision right here in the side. Just like that. And then from there, it's going to be pretty hard to see. I'll see if I can come up here. You can kind of see just right there, that little tiny clip that I had. And then I'm actually going to create, using that as a starting point, I'm going to slip the scissors inside and start cutting up the straw about an inch. Just like that. Flip it over, cut up the straw in the other direction about an inch. And you want that line to be as straight as possible. I think mine curved a little bit towards the end there. But having that slit, which you can see right there in the straw, is what allows this entire trick to work. So here's what you do. No one knows you have that slit in the straw. Also, frankly, it's almost impossible to see, even if you just hold it around like this and show everyone all the sides and whatnot. It's pretty much invisible. Then what you're going to do take the string, feed it right through the straw, just like that, until it comes out the other end. I'm seeing a question from Michael, would rolled up paper work as well? It might do, although the paper straws I don't think bend as easily, and we're about to like bend this in half, so I have a feeling that those paper straws are a little too thick to work. I'm wondering what else you could kind of do for this though. You might be able to take like a piece of paper and roll it up and get like create almost your own version of a straw out of thin like computer paper, put a little tape seam along that, and yeah, maybe that would work. In fact, then that'd be kind of fun. You could almost call that like the tube of mystery, or you make that some sort of magic kind of thing and you make it a whole deal. What's nice about using a plastic straw is it just feels like an everyday normal object, so no one's really questioning it. But it's interesting. Oh, I'm seeing down here from Jessica, incision is parallel or perpendicular? Great question. So I create a little bit of a very small perpendicular, and that would be this direction, parallel being this one. So I create a very small perpendicular direction at the start as sort of just a way to start cutting into this. But then the actual incision is more of a slit that is going parallel with the straw. And that's about a 2-inch slit in total. So a 2-inch parallel cut going along the center, and then just a little tiny perpendicular one at the start so you can get the scissors in there. Does that make sense? Good question. Thanks, Jessica. Okay, so we put the string, goes all the way through the straw. No funny business yet. I try to get it roughly even, about half and half. I then rotate the straw so that that slit we cut is facing down, which again, you can barely see. I'm just rolling my fingers. And then I'm going to fold the straw in half right at the center of the slit. Just looks like I'm folding the straw in half. And now I'm going to let you see what's happening here, so I won't have my fingers hiding it. But again, kind of like the first part of this trick, you're going to use your fingers to hide the little sneaky bit. But when you pull down on this straw now, or sorry, on the string, the string is going to jump through the gap on the straw. Take a look, just like this. And it's actually still quite invisible. But so what that means is that you have this situation. It almost looks like an A. Oh, A for Andrew, I like that. But you've got this situation where the string is now not at the top of the straw, where it was a second ago. It's actually down about an inch. And now, if I put my fingers right about there to hide it again, you can't see it at all. I mean, you can't see it even now when this thing is hidden. And then overheard my kids saying, I learned something, parallel and perpendicular. That's fantastic. By the way I always remembered parallel is, see in the word parallel, there are two L's that are like lines that are going this way with each other. That was always how I remembered that parallel means things that are going together versus perpendicular means the right angles, just like that. So excellent, look at this. You're learning some science, you're learning some magic. It's fantastic. Okay, here we go. We're back to the magic though. So we've got the straw, we've got the string going right down through the center. I use my fingers to hide that so you can't see it. And then I take the pair of scissors. Careful again because the blades are coming close to your fingers here. But what I do is I cut right through the straw. And again, what I've actually done is I've cut the straw, not the string. But using my fingers to hide that little bit of string that's going right there, you can show that the straws are separate. And then you say, I'm pinching, so that's what's keeping the string in there. Otherwise, logically, the strings would just fall out at this point. So you kind of do want to mention that. And then at that point, once you've got this straw and the string set up, all you've got to do is a little bit of kind of storytelling to bring them back together. So what I like to do is say, but look, the illusion again, if I bring the straws together, it looks just like this, that actually the string is a single piece of string again. And the illusion gets even better when I pull, and the string is, even though the straws are cut, the string is all the way back together. So again, like a really simple little thing. But the other thing I'll say about this is those two tricks together make a really nice little routine. So you start with those separate pieces of rope that are actually just one piece, and you've split the ends, or split the center to make two fake ends. And you start by saying, look, you get two pieces of rope, and then boom, just like that, they go back together, and it's now one piece of rope. And you say, but here, even if we take that one piece of rope, we can cut it in half. You do the thing with the straw, and you say, but for whatever reason, they just really want to be one piece of rope again, and then boom, they come right back. So yeah, kind of two good tricks, but also one really good routine. So there you go. All right, so that's a little bit of string/rope magic. Not exactly what I did last night, but kind of a fun little thing, and hopefully you can do that at home. Again, this might, some of you might have this at home, the butcher's twine, but you do want some kind of rope that is going to split up in the middle. That's kind of critical. Let's talk about the card tricks. Now, again, part of these Magic Labs, I'm hopefully teaching tricks that are both easy for beginners, but also interesting for maybe more intermediate or advanced magicians. And so that ace trick I did is actually quite hard. I'll teach you that at the very end. Let's start with the trick where I found a card first. So this is one of my favorite tricks that I still use, and I learned at a very young age. And this is the trick where I'm going to try to find someone else's card, and I don't know what it is. Again, obviously here it's hard to, I have a little monitor that I get to look at, so it's hard for me to convince anyone that I'm not actually seeing the card, but I promise you don't need to know what the card is. Here's how that trick works. I have someone pick a card. They can pick any card they'd like. Let's say it's this one right here. That is the nine of clubs. As they pick the card, I say, great, take a look at that card. You got it? And I've actually just done the sneaky little bit. All you have to do to find that card is memorize the bottom card, okay? And by memorizing that bottom card, you're not going to know what theirs is, but you're going to know where it is in the deck. So here's what I do. Again, they choose a card. Let's say it's the 9 of diamonds. And very casually, I just say, great, you remembered your card. And in that one little gesture right there, I've glimpsed this bottom card, and now I know it's the 5 of hearts. So here we go. There's that. By the way, I will say, as easy as that sounds, doing it in a convincing and sort of deceptive way is not as easy as it sounds. So you don't want to do this. Great, you got your card? Okay, now the magic, yeah, right? So it's all about being very casual, and that's why I'm always gesturing with my hands, and I say, great, remember that card, you've got it right there. So that's a quick way to get a glimpse of that without it being super obvious. So that's what you got to practice here. I then say, we're going to put your card back in the middle of the deck. That's a very specific phrase that I'm actually being a little tricky with. So I say back in the middle of the deck as I spread the cards a bit. But then I cut the cards like that, and I tell them to put their card on top, which actually means their card's going on top of the deck, not the middle. And then I complete the cut. And now it is in the middle, but notice that card that I memorized, the 5 of hearts, is also directly on top of it. So now, again, I have no idea what their card is. That's true, and it is actually now in the middle of the deck. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be able to find that card by knowing exactly what card it's going to come after. So at this point, you can actually cut these cards. You can't fully shuffle them, but you can cut and complete the cut. You can do this as much as you want. Some of you are asking right now, okay, but what happens if you cut between the two cards? That actually doesn't matter. If you cut between the two cards, it's going to be hard to do. It happens every once in a while. You'll see the card that you memorized on the bottom, and you'll know that their card is the card directly on top. And then at that point, you have an even better trick, and I just say, great, watch. Just like this, flip over the top card, and then they do, and it's their card, and that's a miracle. So that happens, every so often, and it's really fun. But at this point, as long as you're cutting and completing the cut each time, you're keeping those cards together. Or if you have split them, you'll know because the card that you memorized will be right back on the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is pretend that I'm watching the person who I'm doing this trick to, and I say, yeah, I'm gonna kind of read your reactions, and based on how you react to these cards, I'm going to be able to figure out exactly where your card is. So I start turning the cards over one at a time. What I'm doing is just looking for the 5 of hearts, okay? So I'm going like this. I go through the cards, and I'm pretending to look up at them and be like, oh no, okay, not a king, it's not a king, no. There's the 5 of hearts. So I guess you can kind of see it there. Yeah, you can see it enough. So there's the 5 of hearts. I now know that this next card is their card. And this is where I have a little fun. I take that card, and as I flip it over, I leave it sticking out of the deck, just the corner there, a little bit. So as I keep putting cards on top of it, I'm going to very intentionally go by their card, but I'm going to leave it sticking out so they can see it there the whole time. So I keep going, and I keep saying, no, not a, okay, no, not a 4, good. Maybe, I think you responded to this. You know what? I'll tell you what. I bet the next card I turn over is going to be your card. Now that's like very mean. It's very mean because the language I'm using along with that gesture, I say the next card I turn over is going to be your card. They've seen me flipping cards. They think that the next card I turn over is going to be this one, but they know that their card is still there. And most of the time, people will take that bet, which is a horrible thing. But I say, great, the next card I turn over is going to be your card. You don't think so? Do you want to bet? Okay, well, should we bet whoever loses has to do the dishes tonight? That's how you can do it. I bet the next card I turn over is going to be your card, and then you actually go for that 9, which you know is theirs, and make that the next card you turn over. And that is how you can get out of doing chores, children. Don't tell your parents. Okay, there you go. But that's a very simple little trick. But again, it's all kind of in the presentation there. So as much as all you're really doing is memorizing the bottom card, it's all about how you do that and then the language you use throughout the rest of the trick. So I say, great, go ahead, take a card. It's going to be this one. Oh, that's the 10. All right, 10 of spades. Say, you got it? Remember that card? I've now memorized the 8 of spades. I say, we're going to go ahead and put your card in the center of the deck. Notice I say center as I'm spreading, but they're not just putting it anywhere in the center. They put their card right on top. I say, great. Do you want to cut the cards? They can cut the cards. I say, do you want to cut them again? Sure, go ahead and cut them again. You want to do it one more time? Yeah, keep going, keep going. Again? Okay, great. So they cut the cards, and I say, great, now I'm going to be able to figure out exactly where your card is just by reading your mind. I look at the bottom card just to check if it's the 8 that I memorized, because then their card would be on top. And I say, here we go. All right. I'm going to, oh, no, it's not there, right, okay. I'm looking for the 8 of spades. I keep going through all the cards until I see the 8 of spades. Oh, keep going, I keep going. Well, it's going to be at the bottom on this one, interesting, okay. And, oops, not that one. This one's pretty far down there. Okay, here we go. Oh, wow, this is like all the way at the bottom. 8 of spades, okay, there we go. That's crazy. So then that's their card, which is the last one. I would say, you know what? I think the next card I turn over is going to be yours. They say, what? I say, yeah, here you go. Boom. And there's that trick. That was crazy. That was a second from the bottom card. That was kind of nuts. But all right, so that is a very simple little card trick, but again, a very effective one. Well, I hope you learned something here this afternoon, and I hope you enjoyed the show last night. If you had a chance to check it out, we will be back with more live streams, more Magic Labs, and it's been fun. So thanks for joining us. Talk to you again soon. Bye, everyone.